you look what's happening right now with a lot of the airlines in England. They're trying to take this opportunity to kind of cut off all their old contracts, and
that's it.
You think if they've got the power to do that, then what's the point of being employed? That safety net is just a myth, isn't it?
We are live. Oh! We be the three-headed Hydra. My name is James.
Sure.
The one with the long hair is Salvatore, and this is Joshua William Dennison.
I've got long hair.
AKA Dentrepreneur. We're going to be talking about Den today because he is not a businessman, he is a businessman.
On June the 6th. Hang about, wait. You're saying June, now you're saying May 2000. No. You're like an Irish builder. Where's my patio? Where's my skylight? Oh, I didn't tell you, it was ready in 2010.
Okay, Den, you are not like an Irish builder. Tell us what you do.
Where's my patio? Where's my skylight? What do I do? I've got my fingers in pies, babies. But no, I don't really. I do plastering. Mm-hmm. But, you know, plastering isn't universal. A lot more people are familiar with like dry lining and stuff. That's what they tend to do in a lot of countries. It's quite an English thing, plastering. They do it elsewhere, but it's different in England.
So that's
what I do, man. I'm self-employed, baby.
How would you? Because I say when people ask me what does Den do, I say a plasterer. I have to explain it to friends in Spain and Italy. Correct me. It's putting the plaster on the walls, right?
And the ceiling, smoothest in the south. So, I mean, traditionally, a plaster would do. They do the floor screeding, which is like cement on the floor, and they get that flat, and they do they plaster walls and ceilings. A lot of them do the coving, which is like the bit on between the wall and the ceiling. You know, you have this often decorative piece. Yeah, that's what the plaster covers. But for some reason, I don't see some guys still do all of those things, but I only do what we call skimming, and which is just like putting a smooth surface 3 to 5 mil over a wall. Yeah, I mean, people strip their wallpaper off. The wall's a bit of a mess. They give me a call. And also, you get, like, you know, the Artex ceilings, which is like a pattern on the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And they like to get those flat at the moment. I mean, these things are just fashions that go through times. A lot of people say, oh, we'll be putting the Artex back on in a few years' time. And I say, very funny. I hear it day in, day out. But yeah, man, no, that's what I do. It's okay. It's funny. People think it's boring, but I think as you have a time constraint, it's not as boring as it looks. And there's something quite zen-like about it. If you watch plastering happening, if you do things, it's quite a nice motion to be doing, and it's good because the things I like about it are that it's physical, which I'm not enjoying so much nowadays, but that's probably why I chose to do something along them lines. Mm-hmm. And I mean, compared to other trades, I think you turn around a lot in a day. I think you catch the job at the right time. Say you're doing a building site, you're not there at the beginning where you're not at the beginning. I don't know what's wrong with the beginning, but basically, by the time the plasterer comes in, the job kind of feels like it's not going anywhere. And then the plasterer comes in, you do a lot, it all turns around, and everyone always says, "Wow, it feels like the job's getting somewhere now." And you pick up on that vibe because, once the plasterer comes in, things start looking like they're getting somewhere. And you also don't miss the little bit at the end where you thought the job would be finished, but it isn't finished, you know? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think that's a bit of a blessing.
So you just float in 3-piece and a soda and glide out of there?
Yeah, out of there. And that's the other thing. You don't get sick of a job because you're only ever there, 2 weeks on a job would be a long time for me. Mm-hmm. Usually a day, 2 days. Yeah, man. But I mean, it's kind of a boring thing to talk about. Like,
I've got some more questions. How did you get into it? How does a man get into plastering?
Well, when I first left school, I did arboriculture at college, which is tree work, and I did go and work with the guy for a few days, but I don't really know what happened. I just never picked it up. And my mum had a friend who was a plasterer, and a plasterer is just one of these old traditional trades, you know. It's bricklaying, carpentry, electrics, plumbing, plastering, you know. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, I mean, you're not being adventurous when you choose to be a plasterer, are you? You know it's there. There's an industry for it. There's a lot of work there. But so my mum's friend was a plasterer, and I went to work with him, and I just got along with him. And I was just maybe at a point where I thought, where I was kind of looking for the job I wanted, and then maybe I tried a few things, and I thought, well, look, maybe I just got to stick with something, and that's what I've done so far. I mean, you know, James, over the years, I've always planned on doing something different, but nothing's ever lured me away. The money's pretty good. It's kind of the other thing about plastering compared to other trades is you can get started up for little money, so it's good turnaround. You need a mixing drill, a hawker trowel, and a van, and I mean you can get all that going for £1,000 if you really want to, which is a really small input, and you can earn good money per day doing it.
And when did you find out that you're good using your fingers?
I think I learned to be good. I wouldn't have said I naturally did. You just practice, and you know.
Were you pretty bad at first then?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be surprised if anyone, if anyone not doing any other trade, maybe if you had experience of other trades, then you'd be all right at it first off. But no, definitely, you're awful. You're dropping it everywhere. It's a mess. It is a bit of a mystery why you stick at it. And a lot of people, I had a lad come to work with me the other day, and I think he texted me the next day and said he, felt rough, he's not coming in, and I never heard from him again. And I think he just thought, God, I don't like the look of that shit. I don't want to get involved with that. It's a messy job, man. It's a messy.
He was just a one and done.
A one and done, man. He didn't fancy it, but I respected that,
Yeah, well,
everyone, baby.
That's just cool. Because a lot of people ask me, Dan, well, what's it like opening a business in the UK? Because here and in Spain, two places that I've lived for a long time, it's an absolute nightmare because of the bureaucracy. What's been your experience? Because now you run J Dennison Plastering. It's your own business. So what's it like setting up?
Yeah, easy, because actually the first guy I worked for, I was a subcontractor. I've never been employed by anyone. So yeah, as far as I can remember, because I'm talking 13 years ago now, I was 17, and you just write a letter to the HMRC, let them know you're going to be self-employed. You have to pick a company name, and they give you kind of a UTR, unique tax reference, which you give to subcontractors, and they deduct your tax at source. And it's not too much drama. I mean,
how much time and money are we talking?
Oh, no money. You do it for free.
No money.
No money. You do it for free. I mean, you're better off to pay an accountant to do your books at the end of the year, in my opinion, because they know where they can make savings, so they kind of pay for themselves. But that's optional money. You can do it yourself if you want. And if you mainly work for like 2 or 3 different people, you could do it yourself because your books are really easy to keep on top of. It's when I work for lots of different people, so it's probably better to have an accountant because they tell me where I can make my savings and how much I've earned.
And is it just online? Like you fill out a form?
Yeah.
Wow. It's quite different here now, Sal, to open your own business.
Slightly different. It took us forever to open up our business here. Mamma mia.
Mamma mia.
What happens in Italy?
What happens? Have you ever read the Divine Comedy? There's the Purgatory where you're not quite yet in hell. And that's basically the location where all the public administration is located, the Purgatory. So, but this is a whole different podcast we can talk about in the future.
So I mean, if I was a plasterer in Italy, what would I have to pay money to register myself as a self-employed plasterer?
You would probably have to pay money because probably you have to get to a notario, which would be, what's the guy who officializes documents? Notary. Notary. There we go. That costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess it depends how you set up your company, but I'm not sure if there are some forms that would be exempt. For example, freelancers might have different kind of solutions. Anyway, it would be hell. It would be expensive, time-consuming. Not even the accountants very often know everything because the laws are written in such a way that they're very interpretive in many situations. So very often the accountants have to dig in and interpret it themselves. And there's not really a way for many businesses to 100% protect yourself, but you can only approximately protect yourself in the best possible way, hoping that tomorrow when something changes or some control arrives, you have covered everything possible. But they might still find something to find you. So that's more or less not in every sector, but in many.
Yeah, in Spain it's a similar mess. for example, there's a big fuss because you have to pay 300 euros every month. That's before you pay any taxes. You have to pay 300 euros every month in order to have the right to be a small business owner called an autonomo.
Oh,
So that's even if you make 500 euros, 300 of that is going out straight away, and then you pay your tax on the rest. Mental. It's anti-business. It's actually discouraging people.
I mean, I think so we say Dentrepreneur, and it's kind of tongue in cheek, isn't it? Because I don't know if I'm technically am an entrepreneur, but I would say the risk in opening a business is if you have a shop and if you're renting a premises and you have employees. I've got no outgoing, so if I don't get any work, I don't pay any money, so it's fine. The risk
then you are a smart entrepreneur.
Just by chance, though, not by design. But if I was going to be, I think if you were opening a business and you needed a premises, I mean, these things would obviously get trickier. And also, it's the size of your business. I know if your turnover is over 82,000, I think the threshold is at the moment, and you have to go VAT registered, so you're in a different bracket. And then you have to do quarterly VAT returns, and I think they're trying to make those monthly. And then you definitely have to get an accountant involved. So maybe there is a bit more jurisdiction, when it comes to going a bit more big time. I'm lucky with plastering; the materials are small, so you can keep your turnover is low, and it comfortably goes below that threshold. Whereas if you're a builder, your materials are sometimes 5 times your wage. Fairly easily, probably 3 times easily. So you'd have no chance. You have to be VAT registered, and then it all gets very complex.
Yeah,
it gets a lot more complex. So
then could you tell us a bit about the pros and cons of being self-employed?
Well, it's not something I really dwell on too much. I've never felt the benefits of being employed outweigh being self-employed. Only in my game, I mean, because like I say, it costs not a lot to start up. So if you needed a premises and everything, obviously you're taking on more risk, like I said. So that would be a con of being self-employed if you're in another trade. And obviously you don't get your holiday pay, but you may get more money. So as long as you're disciplined with your finances, you obviously kind of pay for your own holiday. I think there's a lot of forgotten hours. You can say you do 9 hours on a job. I mean, you can be looking at a job in the evening, and that could take up an hour of your time, which you would be doing in work time. And you go and get materials. I think it's easy to forget about all the hours that you spend kind of, on the side doing that. But then you and people sort of say if you're employed, then you get home at the end of the day and you can forget about it. But that's just not my nature anyway. I mean, I know when I work for people, I always cared about it. So you may as well reap the benefits of being self-employed. And the other thing with plastering is you can't really be employed by someone. You take a severe hit in money to be employed by someone, it'd just be no point. I mean, if you only worked half the time, you'd earn as much money as you would being employed by someone. So, to me, the risk just seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. Employed v self-employed. I think that's it, really, man. Yeah,
awesome. Interesting.
People like the structure, and the stability, but I think that's a bit of a myth nowadays. Especially people don't stay in employment for long, do they? And businesses aren't set up so that people stay in them for years. I mean, you look what's happening right now with a lot of the airlines in England. They're trying to take this opportunity to kind of cut off all their old contracts, and you think if they've got the power to do that, then what's the point in being employed? That safety net is just a myth, isn't it?
Mate, yeah, that's true. And also, I mean, it depends on the person. I think it comes back again to our personality chat and the personality traits that we discovered. But if you need that stability, then like you say, maybe it is just a lot of smoke, but you feel like you're being looked after in some way or protected. Whereas if you go out on your own, it can feel very threatening to people. They don't. Not everyone knows how to start, I think.
And speaking of stability, one thing that comes to mind is, I mean, a lot of people are afraid losing their jobs because of automation and because of machines taking over certain jobs, or algorithms taking over. In your case, obviously, there's manual work, but there might still be machines potentially capable of doing this. So what do you think in your field? Do you see it as one of the few job sectors that are actually safe, let's say safe from automation and all these things? Or could it be that since it is more safe from automation, that there might be an influx of more people in the future and more competition coming in because it's one of the last jobs humans actually can do? So what kind of developments do you see there?
I reckon Brexit will put pay to that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a machine could do it. I can't see why a lot of tradesmen, you hear this debate, they say a machine couldn't do it, but they could, couldn't they? You know, the machines get smarter and they can do it. I mean, maybe there's too many, what do you call them, variables in kind of doing certain jobs. I can imagine if you had a brand new building site, a machine could do it. If you made the thing level with machines, and then you could, you know, it's kind of all, there's less variables. So maybe it seems like we're closer to a machine doing that kind of job. Whereas I do a lot of work in people's houses, and there's too much going on. You know, sometimes you're working around a flipping sofa or something. And
also, on that point, I mean, you'd have to hire a bloke to bring the machine, right?
Yeah.
So you're probably going to pay the same amount anyway. So you may as well have a nice young man from Horsham with a ginger mop and a cheeky smile. Give him a cup of tea and a biscuit.
That's it, man. That's it. I mean, yeah. So I don't fear the machine thing, but it's definitely a possibility, isn't it? I don't care, man. Honestly, I'm looking for an excuse to get out the game. Anyway.
You've been telling me for about 10 years that you're going to do something else.
Yeah, I know. I've stopped harping on about it, but
bring on the machines.
No, listen. I'm doing my houses. I know. I've got some here. Business. I've got some plans here for my loft conversion.
Oh.
What
do we got?
I'm trying to make a few things happen. So I've got a bit of an exit strategy plan. I'm making moves towards it. I mean, mate, I'd advise people to get into plastering. It's a good thing, and I think maybe I've gone too hard. That's why I've beaten myself up. I could have been more tactical and had some more longevity in it. But it's all in all, I don't regret the decision to be a plasterer. And man, the building site's a wonderful place. I mean, if I went and worked elsewhere, I'm sure I'd miss that. You have some good fun times, and always a good laugh. And
very limited experience in the summer holidays.
Another mention for Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson always speaks highly of the trade guys, and he says about the camaraderie is a lot down to it being tough, grueling work. So you have to kind of laugh or cry a lot of the time, and you do feel that. Yeah, and you meet some brilliant guys. I mean, all the naughty boys from school end up on a building site, don't they? And you have some real fun. Some people.
It's too much fun, man.
These opinions. I was speaking to a brilliant guy the other day, Pedro. He was Portuguese, and he said we were talking about. I met him when the lockdown first happened. He said, "I'm a little bit suspicious, of this COVID. I'm suspicious." He said, "Something like this happens every 10 years to the economy." He said, "Something's just fishy about this one. Something's just fishy about it." And then I see him again on this job the other day, and he's telling me, he says, "I've got a theory." I said, "Here we go." Stop and listen, I've got a theory, and it was to do with, he said, a lot of people, he said, they're born in 90s onwards. He says they ain't gonna make it through the next 10 years. It's gonna be bad. They're not gonna do it. They're soft. And he had a guy with him, and he was going, the guy was going, "Yeah, no, they're all soft, they're not." And he was telling me, and I said to him, I said, "I won't make it then, will I?" He said, "What do you mean, man?" I said, I was born in the 90s. He said, "No." He said, What year was you born?" I said, 1990. He said, "Yeah, you might just be all right." It was funny, man. And you just get these kind of, that's the tone on the site. It's just kind of.
Sal will be all right. He was born in the 70s.
Yeah, I'm all news. I'm just at the borderline of being. I'm at the end spectrum of being a millennial. So.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man, that's really good.
But yeah, I mean, I don't regret being self-employed at all. I think and like I say, maybe if the option was there more in plastering to be employed, I'd see the benefits. But there really isn't. You don't see anyone employed and doing too well. I don't know, man.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Shall we wrap this one up?
Sure.
Thanks to Den. It's been really interesting. Well, that's it. We've been the three-headed Hydra. And get your plastering down in southeast England with J Dennison Plastering.
As J Dennison, he's the smoothest in the south. Don't you forget it. Give him for the women.
In the south. Don't you forget it.
Give him for the women since 2010. Woo!
So get your.
We do a dance off service for free, baby. Oh yeah.
So get the Dentrepreneur in your house while you still can. Limited time only. Dentrepreneur is coming to you. All right, guys. That's been great. We've been the three-headed Hydra, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Trowel.
Why are we making these podcasts? Because 3 heads are better than 1. We'll combine our experiences and research on engaging topics to learn a bit more each time, enjoy the chat, and improve our own communication skills in the process. Innovation comes from the ability to correlate information between different realms of knowledge, and we all have very different realms of knowledge between the 3 of us.
Why the Hydra, you ask? In archetypal mythology, dragons guard piles of gold. Overcoming fears can bring great rewards. What you most need is often where you least want to look, and we won't shy away from the fire to challenge each other and reach that goal.
What's in it for you, listener? Learn, laugh and love. Get involved and join us on this adventure.